So today we're going to focus on doing a transaction. And I'm going to wait just 1 second because I have 1 or 2 other people coming in right now. So we'll just give them a minute to log in. Okay, if you've just logged in, hi. And I'm just going to ask you to mute yourself, please. Okay, so let's go ahead. So there's 2 ways to start a transaction. One is going to be through transactions, and if you go into view transactions, there's going to be an option.
Hey, Diane? Diane?
Yes.
We're just seeing your, at least me, I'm only seeing your desktop. I'm not seeing
okay.
Total Brokerage open.
Okay, great. It's just at my wrong desktop. That happens once in a while.
Hey, there we are.
All right, so now you're seeing it, everyone? Good, thanks. Okay, so you would come, I started to tell you there's 2 ways that you can create a transaction. One is by going into view transactions, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to have the option to create a transaction. Now, if I click on that, it's going to open a window that we call the wizard window. This can consist of different questions that your broker manager has created, and by answering this question, the program is going to know what kind of forms you're going to need for this transaction. And the other way that you can also enter and start a transaction is through the CRM menu. So let's go look at that way. So if we go into View Contacts, and I'll just use Barbara Francis. And now up in the upper right-hand corner, again, I'm going to have Create a Transaction. So the only difference between the 2 methods of starting a transaction is if you do it through the client record, it's automatically going to know the name of the client that you're representing. If you do it through the transaction, you're just going to assign the client once you're in the transaction. So I have some sample questions here. Yours might be a little bit different when you actually get in here and look, but was the property built before 1978? So if I answer yes to this, it's going to look for any form that relate to lead disclosures. Who am I representing? I'm going to say I'm representing the buyer. We can say it is a condo association. We'll leave the referral yes. HOA, I'll set to no. Now, down on the bottom, it's going to prompt you to add a task list. Now, the task list is going to be based on who you're representing. So you may have a task list in here for buyer, seller, landlord, tenant. So if I come in here and click, you'll see I have several different ones in here. I'm just going to pick a basic one for right now, called General Buyer Task List. Now, you're going to see 2 options down at the bottom. This one on the left is if you want to create a transaction and manually add the forms yourself. But we're going to select this one on the right, which is create the transaction. So when we do this, the system is now going to look for any forms related to the responses you answered in the wizard. And then it will automatically load those forms into the transaction for you.
So real quick, I think we've got somebody who's not muted that just got on the call.
Okay.
Because that's not me click-clacking.
Yeah, here's one.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple here too. There's another one. Okay. Let me just make sure that I just have you and you. No, here's another one. Okay. Okay, I found the person. All right. Okay,
Thanks.
so you're welcome. So when the transaction opens, you're going to see it's created all of these different tabs. So the first one is the General tab. You can obviously come in here and change the name to something a little less generic than just Transaction for Barbara Fances. Now, it already knows that I'm representing the buyer because that was one of my wizard questions. Now, down here is a note section. You can have unlimited notes, and you can also add hyperlinks. So for our session today, I just pulled up a property on Realtor.com, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste that into the note field, and it adds the link down at the bottom. So for all of those important pages that you may want to bookmark for this transaction, you can do it here. There's no limit on the amount that you can add. So then I'm just going to click the Save button. Now here's the Document tabs, and here are all the documents that got pulled based on the responses to my wizard questions. We're going to come back and spend a little time in this window. Right now, I just want to continue through. The next is the People tab. This is where you're going to assign all of the different people that will be involved. So my name in the system is Agent Normal. That's why you're seeing that there. So that's already assigned me as the buyer. Now down here where you have the seller, if you click in the box, it's going to bring you to a drop-down window. Now, if it's the first time you're dealing with this agent, all you have to do is start to type, and it's going to prompt you to add the agent's name. If it's one that you've dealt with in the past, then it should automatically be in this drop-down list. So we'll just pick Kelly for now and save that. And then this bottom section here would be if I'm partnering with any other agents within my company. So if you work with teams and you want the whole team name on here, you can do it. Anyone else that you want to have access to this transaction. So let's click on here, and let's just say I'm going to work with Alba on this, and I'll go ahead and I'll add her name. Now, a couple of other options over here. So you see you have an operations. Under operations, I can change, remove, or view the vendor information. Under the additional agents, if I had more than just Alba that I'm working with, I could come here and also apply other agents' names to this transaction. Now, down here are the vendors. So if you see a vendor that's already populated, like we have here, for those folks that have just joined, please mute yourself. Thank you. So here you can see that there are some vendors already populated here. That's because these are preferred vendors. And these are preferred vendors here. Could you please just hold your question to the end? Just jot down so you don't forget, and we'll come back and address that. Okay, so under the agent one, if I don't need this additional field, I also can come here under operations and just remove it. Under the appraiser, if I click in the appraiser field, I will get a selection that has been set up, but just like with the other field I showed you, if you start to type, you can manually enter a new one. And we'll go ahead and we'll save that one. And I'll put a broker name in here. We'll just say Ben Schachter. And if there was a cooperating agent, I could put that person's name in here. So for instance, if I had two sellers and I wanted both of them on here, then I can do that. Okay, home inspector, we'll go ahead and we'll put a home inspector in here. Okay, so that basically fills out. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this cooperating agent for right now. And we have all of the standard options I showed you. So change a vendor, clear it out, view the vendor information, or totally remove the vendor and the vendor type. Now, under contacts, oh, let me go back 1 second. I wanted to just point out in the upper right-hand corner, If you need to add additional vendors than the ones that are automatically populated here, you could click Add a Vendor. You would be able to choose your type and then select the vendor from the drop-down menu. Contacts. So here we have that the buyer is the person that I stated. Maybe there is only one buyer for right now. So let's go ahead and we're going to remove that second buyer. And then same thing with seller. If their name is not currently in my list, I can add it. I'm just going to go ahead and pull some names up here that I already have. And we'll go ahead and do the masters. Okay, now if there were other people involved, either as a buyer or a seller, then you can come in here and you can click Add a Contact and then add additional people. Let's go to property information next. So your MLS will be connected with Total Brokerage. So what that means is I can just come and if I type in the ID number, I'm just going to do a copy and a paste. And then I can hit the Fetch button. And it's going to fully populate this whole tab for me. So it brings in the legal description, the parcel ID, anything that's set up in that MLS record. And we'll click the Save button. And now we'll go on to financial information. So we're going to just enter 3% for each. Okay, let's just say the selling price is $450,000, and they're going to do an initial deposit of $20,000, and then maybe a second deposit of $30,000. Okay, and then I'll just put the loan amount in here of $400,000. Now, all of these fields that are under transaction financial, you obviously can put information in all of them. If you need additional fields, that's something that the broker manager can add for you. And then you would be able to also have another field in here. So we do have the options that you can just come in here and create additional fields if you need them. Now, this bottom section allows me to enter any expenses I've incurred. So notice it's only showing my name. It's not showing Alba's, who I have also attached. That's because the agent will only see their own transaction expenses. If Alba were to log into this page, she would actually see expenses for Alba rather than agent normal. So I'm just going to say, once again, you can create your own description here. So if I start to type, it will let me add my own description for transaction expenses. I'm just going to say a lunch right now. Okay, Keith, Lacey's having problems hearing me. I don't know if you can help her or not. I'm going to go ahead and just continue. So let's just say I spent $50.
I'll take care of it.
Okay, thanks. We'll just spend $50 on the lunch, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so each agent that's involved on the transaction can come in and manage their own expenses. All right, so let's look at the base commission tab. So the first thing I'm going to do is state what my base commission is. So this can be stated either in dollars or a percent of sale. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this in as the 3%, and that's going to be the total commission. Now you see several deductions here. These are just being pulled either from the agent's, from either of the agent's records that is set up in their account. So these are just default transaction fees that have been set up for either of the agents, and they're going to show up here. You also can come in and manually add a credit or a deduction here by clicking Add a Line. Now, I'll have a choice here where I can add a credit or a deduction that's going to affect the gross income. I can choose the type of transaction, the description, and who it would be paid to or from here. And then I would just enter the amount, and it would come out of that gross commission down to an adjusted gross commission. So we went from the $13,500 down to the $9,590. Now, the next thing here is going to be how is it split between the agents that are involved. So I can just do edit a transaction, and I'll change this to 50% on each agent and click Save. And then I'm also going to come and click the Save button at the bottom. So whenever you see the Save button, please click that before going on to the next page. Okay, so our next tab is bonus commission. So this would just allow you to come in here and enter any bonus commission that may apply to this transaction. The next tab is
hey Diane, we typically don't have like a bonus thing, so hey Diane, you already moved on, so we're good. Sorry.
Okay, good. Let's go into earnest money. Now, this is where you can record any of the escrow payments that you receive. So I can click on this line, and in your bank account, you'll get a choice of the different choices you have for escrow deposits. I'll just put Chase for mine. You can put in any kind of a description here. So maybe I'll just put first escrow. I can put in a check number, so I have that on record. And I'll put in the amount, which was the $20,000. And I can put in the date. So I'll just say that I got this on the 1st, and we'll click Save. Now, if it's the case where you're going to get a second escrow deposit, then you can also come in here at any point and add any extra payments you may be getting. Let's look at calendar. All right, so this is a series of dates. And similar to the tab on the financial, if there are other date descriptions that you may want as part of this transaction, they can easily be added. So we already got the first escrow. I'm not going to worry about that. Let's just put in a couple of dates so we can see how that would look. So we'll just say maybe it's got to be in by the 12th. And I want to set a reminder for myself. My reminders can be minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months. And I'm just going to put a 2-day reminder. And then let's go down and also put in a closing date here. So we can just say that we're going to close maybe on April 1st. And I want a 5-day reminder on this. So what this is going to do is anytime I put a date in here, it's going to post on my calendar on my dashboard. And it will also set up those reminders so that I will get either email reminders or text reminders depending on how I have that notification configured. And then also see here where you have a to-do list just for this transaction. So if I want, maybe I want to add a reminder to call and confirm when an inspection was going to be done or anything like that. You can also add this. This will show up on your to-do list on your dashboard page when that date comes up. And you also have an email tab in here like you do with the client record. So if I send any documents out via email from here, then they will, when they reply, it will be here where it will give me the opportunity to go and review any attachments before I add them back to my documents. Activities. So we saw how the client had an activity tab. Now we also can see how a transaction can have an activity tab. The other agent involved would also have access to post activities here. And you can also create different types of activity for the transaction than you do for the client record. And then up here you could see transaction person added. So we have some already posted in here. And if I wanted to add another one, I could add it to the calendar, or I can also do it as a task if I wanted to. So you have that option. Now here's the page for the checklist. Normally yours would be a lot longer than what mine is. Mine's only got the 2 here, but it's enough so you could see how this page works. So as I go through my tasks and I check them off as complete, my turtle is going to start marching across the page. And then any of the documents that need to have a review will show up in a list, and then I can come in and I can add as many of them that are as completed as I want. So I can come in here, I'm just going to add one in here for now, and click the check mark, and now I get the option to send it for a compliance review. So if I click on that, it's going to record the date and the time that I sent it. Okay, let's go and look at the documents now. So here's the list of documents. There's one other thing I wanted to show you too as far as the property goes. So along with the fetch button working, there is another option that goes along when your multiple listing is connected to Total Brokerage, and that would be under action, and it's called create a PDF from an MLS listing. So I'm going to click on that, and then as soon as it's done processing, it's going to show up here in my documents window. So we'll look at some of the other features, and then when that pops up, I'll show you what it looks like. So the first one on here is move to a folder. So this is where you can create folders and organize your files into those folders. So if I click on move to a folder, I don't have any created now, so I'm just going to create a basic one called miscellaneous, and I'll click OK, and now it moved that particular file into the folder for me. Let's go in and look at the next one. So let's go into this one and do page sorting. So the page sorting will open up a multi-page document for me, separating out each page, and each page will have a little check mark in it. So this will allow me to select a group of pages, and then I have 2 options. I can remove the ones selected, or I can keep only the ones selected. I also, if I want, can give it a new name and then archive the old document if I'm not going to use it any longer. The other thing I can do here is rearrange the order. So if for some reason the pages are not in the proper order, this does allow you just to grab it anywhere in the top and drag it to wherever you want it to be. Okay, let's go back. Okay, here's our MLS report. So let's take a look at this. So this brings in everything that's in the MLS listing. You could see it's 12 pages. It will give you initial boxes at the bottom for your client to just initial and sign off on it. You also can come in here and make any kind of changes if you need to. So maybe there's a piece of information that's not correct, and you can simply come in. Maybe we'll do the year built. So I'm going to put my mouse right in front of year built. I'm going to right click and go to add, and then add a strike through. And then I can right click right next to it and add a text box. And then I can enter the correct information in the text box and then just simply save it. So if you have to make any modifications, it's very easy to do it on this PDF format and then have your clients sign off on it. And then, excuse me, once you've got that folder created, then you can come and add as many files to it as you want. So if I click Operations and move to Folder, there's the one I created. if I started to type, I could create a new one. Okay, I can rename a file. Now, Fields. Fields is going to allow me to get right into the particular document and look at the different fields. I can also come over here and just click on the name. Now, if I click on the name, it's going to open up the document for me in the edit mode. So I'm going to be able to see how the fields have all been mapped out. So up here, you can see I've got information for the sellers, the buyers, the property information, the financial. And if I want to see how the information I entered in my transaction is going to look on this contract, I can click the preview button. And it's going to now populate it with all the information. So here's my selling price, here's the escrow, here's the second one. I also can make adjustments right here. So if I forgot to add something, all I have to do is come and click in the box. So we'll just say I'm going to add another buyer. So I'm going to click in that one. Notice it will allow me to get back into that People tab if I want to, but I also can just assign the name here. So we'll just say John Francis. And it will save that name in the People tab and load it right here for me on here. So you always can come in and make some modifications. Even if you've got a wrong number in here, you can go in and change it from here. You don't have to get out and go back to the tab. Okay, let's go back to our documents. All right, so next we have mark signed. So this will change the status, which is editing right now, to mark signed if I click on mark signed next to that document. You use the mark signed with the option under actions to share documents. Now, in order for you to share a document, it either has to be fully executed or you have to indicate mark signed, meaning that you're done with everything and now you're sending it to someone else. You can choose a contact, you can choose a vendor. I'll just go and put one up there. It will automatically load the email directly from the client record or the vendor record. You can have an expiration on it. You can have any kind of comments that you want in here. And then any files that are available to share will show up down here. So you see I don't have any here right now. That's because I don't have any that are fully executed, and I have not yet marked anything marked signed. But if I do come in here and just take one of these, and I'll just mark it signed, notice first that it'll change the status here to signed. I can go back into Share Documents, and now if you look at the bottom, you're going to see that that shows up as available to share with someone else. Okay, let's keep going. So after mark signed, we have archive. So if you notice in this list, there's no delete button. So if a file happens to load on your transaction and you're not going to have to use it, then you always can come in and just archive it. So what that does is going to pull it down here into this section under Archive Documents. And now it's going to reside down here. So you just took it out of your active list. You can view a document and you can download a document. So those are your remaining options that you have here. Now, under Actions, you've got several options. One is Add a Form. So if I were to have taken that option on the left side of the wizard page, which said to create the transaction without adding the forms, then I would have to come here and click on Add the Form. It's going to bring up all my forms organized by the different groups. So I can click on the group, I can come and select which forms I want under each section, and then at the bottom I have the option to add them to my transaction. Okay, let's come in back and let's see under that we also have upload a PDF. So I may have some kind of a document that was created outside of Total Brokerage, but I now want it to be up here in the transaction. So I can upload the PDF, click the disclaimer, click the upload, and it will add it here to my documents folder. Merge PDFs. So maybe I uploaded several different pages and I now want to merge them into one document. Create a PDF from an MLS listing. I showed you how you can do that. Create a summary PDF. So let's come in here and you can see you're going to have some options. You can add additional information to this, but let's just look at the basic summary report that you get. So let's go in and I'll open this as soon as it loads. There we go. And we'll make it just a little bigger so you can see it better. Okay, so here we're going to have first the property information. So that pulls directly from the property tab. Anything you filled out on the dates tab will show up here. You're going to have all of your people that are involved with all their contact information that will print. I just don't have it filled out in my client records. You're going to have the earnest money section. So any earnest money you've collected will show up on here. You're going to see, have the commission and the fees broken down here. You'll have it between the two agents. So you can see agent normal. I don't get to see Alba's split. I don't get to see a full breakdown. It just gives me her amount. And then down here, you've got the vendors down here and a signature spot. So this you can print out with any of your transactions. Okay, let's look at request signatures. So we're going to click on request a signature. I can choose my signer. Now, I'll have a choice. I can send it via email, I can send a text message, or I can sign on the device. So if I do send an email, I would just come down. I could select all and send all of these documents at once and click down here on the send email. Now, down here, you're going to have a little section. So these are documents that do not require signature, but you may want to share them to send them to view. So that's why these are showing up down here. The other option is sign on the device. So if I click on sign on the device, I'm going to go ahead and I'll select just this contract for sale or purchase. And now I'm going to click sign on the device. Okay, so when it loads, you're going to see that I will have one more option for downloading this document if I want to before I get into the signature portion. Otherwise, I can go right in and click review and sign the document. It's going to bring up this little helpful message for you. So it's telling you that if you use these two options in the upper right corner, sign all documents, initial all documents, you only sign once and you only initial once, then all of the proper areas would automatically be populated. By the way, if you send this via email to your client, they also see this same message. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click Sign All Documents. Now, you can use any kind of a device. So if I were to open this on a phone, on a tablet, whatever, it would automatically resize. You don't need any kind of a special app to run Total Brokerage. You would just log into the website, or in this case, if I was a client, I could open it up on my phone and it would automatically resize to fit whatever screen I'm looking at. So I can use any number of devices. I could use my finger, I could use a stylus. If I'm on a laptop, I can also just use my mouse if I wish, and I can sign with my mouse. And I also can switch to type. I can select the kind of font I wanted to show, and then I'm going to click Save. Now notice this is grayed out, so you only have to do the signature once, and then I'm going to do initials, and the initial is up there, and I'm going to save the initial. So now if we scroll down, we're going to see that the page has her initials on it, and if I go all the way down to the last page, I'll be able to see her signature with the date already attached. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Save button. Okay, and let's go to Return to Transaction. Okay, so notice now that this particular one is marked partially signed. Now, once something is partially signed, you're going to get another option under Operations, and that's to copy. So if I had to make some kind of a modification to my document, I can come in here, because notice there's no editing now. So I would come in here and I would do Copy. Now it will make a copy of exactly how the document looks now with whatever signatures are on there. Or if I need to, I can make a fresh copy of the way it looked before it was sent out for any signatures. No matter which one I choose, if I click OK, it's going to make a fresh copy and add it to the top of my document list. So it's right up here. Now the status is editing, and I can go back and I can make any changes to that document I need. So let's go back to Actions, a couple of other things here. I can download documents if I need a local copy. I can do that. I can create a task here as well as the one that I saw on the activity. And I can create a quick access widget. So if I click on this, it brings up the little widget page. I can change the color if I like. We'll just make it nice and blue today, and then click Save. Now, if I go back to my dashboard, you're going to see I created a shortcut to this transaction. So when I log in on my dashboard, if I want to get right to work on this particular transaction, I can click View Transaction. You also can have as many widgets as you want. They will resize and fit on this page. So we'll just do View Transaction, and we're now back in our transaction. Okay, so I think that covers everything with the transaction. And whoever has any questions, please just unmute yourself. Keith, if you've got any comments or anything you would like to add, that would be fine too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know Sarah had a couple of questions earlier in the chat. So we've just got, if there's multiple agents on the seller side, that's where you would add the co-op agent, correct?
Right.
Okay, and then broker one would be the broker on the side of the transaction that you're working. So like it would be me in these cases.
Correct.
That's the other question. Okay, cool. Sarah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Keith.
Oh, okay, cool. And then just a couple of things just for you guys to note, like when you're going through these tabs and filling out all this information, when you put that in there, that's going to auto-populate the forms we already have available. So like as you're putting in all your dates and such, writing offers, that's what's going to populate the forms as you're going along. And so it's a different kind of workflow than we're used to, but as I've been using it, I'm starting to prefer it. So that's a good sign for me, I guess. And then, of course, we're going to do some continued training on this, and I'll be recording some other things with kind of more detailed bits and pieces that use our checklists and our forms and things, so it's going to be more familiar to you. So you guys can look for those in the coming weeks as well. That's all I have to add. All right.
I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Earlier, I was trying to amend a contract. I was trying to add initials and signatures, and I did the add button. But then when I was trying to move the pieces around, it wouldn't let me.
Mhm. Sometimes it's just a matter of where your mouse is. You got to wait till you have a cross on it, and that should allow you to move it. The easier way to do that is to right-click where you're going to want it and add it from there. So if you right-click on the document where you want to drop it, then you can add whatever you need, and it should add right where you need it. But it does get a little bit weird sometimes. Yeah, Diane, if you want to.
I will. Let me open a document, and I'll explain that to you.
And then I have a question, Lacey. I have a question of when we're done with one.
Okay, all right. We'll do this, and then we'll take your question. Okay, so what Keith is referring to is that you do have the option here to add options. If you do it here, it's going to put it up in the middle of the document. The other way that you can do it is place your mouse exactly where you want it. So just for an example, let me go ahead and I'll move this one over. So maybe I wanted to add another box here. So I would right-click and I would do text. Now, I will tell you that the way I use these is I use my up and down arrows and my over arrows. You can get it much better placed if you use your arrows because it does it by pixel. So it's much easier to do it that way than trying to manipulate it with your mouse, which can be a little shaky. So like, see, this is a little bit below the line. If I wanted to fix it, I would just use my up arrow, and it's right exactly on the line where I want it. Okay, did that answer the question for you? Is that helpful?
Yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, and then we had another question?
Yeah, Lacey?
Sorry, I was trying to mute myself. Yes. Okay. So when you're sending an agreement to a client that they're signing, but you're also signing, do you have to?
Yes.
The only way that I could figure it was like I sign it, download it, upload it, and then put them in to sign it.
Mm-hmm. And well, I can tell you right now. So we've been talking to the folks over there, and they're rolling out a better way to do that. Actually, later this week it should be, because the multiple signatures has been kind of a hiccup that we're working through. But I don't know if Diane has any more information on that.
Yeah, if the other thing that you can do is just send it to yourself. So in this box that send signature, your name appears in here. So if I click this and then I do sign on the device, I can just go in and sign my signature.
Correct. Then it goes to the signature of signed, and how do I send that? Fill out the parts for the client to sign and then send it to the client without downloading it and then uploading it again.
Again, that's the thing that they're working on fixing that for us in terms of our processes. So
I have to send something for signature today. What is the flow on that then? If I sign, I have to sign on the device, download it, re-upload it, and then send it?
It shouldn't be. It kind of depends on how you set up the transaction in the first place. And that's, again, one of the hiccups that we ran into, that they're going to roll out a fix like in a few days. So if you do it all initially correct, I guess is the word for it, you shouldn't have that issue of having to download and re-upload and re-sign. You can also make copies of it, so you wouldn't have to download it necessarily. You can no, wait, it doesn't keep the signature if you do that. I don't know, Diane?
Yeah. If you when you make a copy, if you take the amended one, it does keep the signature.
Okay, and that would be another way to have another copy to add signatures to until they roll out the fix that we're talking about.
Okay, so let me go back in here and I'll just show you. So under the documents, so this one that's partially signed, if I do the copy here on this partially signed one, so the top one, create a copy of the completed documents to mark up and amend. That means it's going to take it even if there is a signature on it. This one puts it back in the state before you had any signature.
Does this mean that we have to send them to each client individually? So if I have multiple buyers, am I sending it for signature to both of them at the same time and the whole document completes? Or do I have to send it individually?
No, you're,
and again,
you're
that's,
actually signing.
yeah.
Yeah, you're
Sorry,
actually
go ahead, Diane.
signing online. You're actually signing online. So if I wanted, I can just go in to the tab up here to request signatures, and I can do one after the other. It's going to direct them when they get the link. They're actually getting linked to the signing on the same document. So it's not like they're each signing individual documents.
Can we add
And so,
ourselves
yeah,
in
and
that
that's,
way as well? And I send to myself and my clients?
Well, I would say that you want to sign yours first, because the client's going to look for those signatures. So you want to make sure that yours is signed first.
no, she's not. Hey, on that, and again, that's another question you're asking. So it's something I've been going back and forth with the engineers on that. And so all of these things in terms of having multiple signers and have the workflow be a little easier to understand, that again is all coming in the changes that they should be rolling out later this week, according to my people over there. So
Right.
in terms of having everybody able to sign at once, it'll make a lot more sense with the new stuff. Currently, the workflow is a little bit stilted. I mean, I guess I'd just be honest. And that's part of, like, we've been kind of helping them try and put together an easier way to do that. So by the end of the week, we're not going to have a lot of these concerns in terms of multiple signatures at once, if that helps. You know, 'cause so we're still using the other system, if necessary, all the way through the end of the month. And so we'll make sure that all of these things are working and properly functioning the way we need them to before we require you guys to move over to the new platform.
So .loop is still running. So if I have
Yeah.
a transaction I'm trying to do today,
You can work in both platforms right now. But we would love for you to continue, like, once you're trained on this, to move stuff over to this. But again, like I said, some of these fixes will be rolled out here shortly, so it won't be. I don't want you guys frustrated, and that, like, is one of the things that we want to make sure is really simple, is the multiple signature requests. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry. Anybody else have anything?
I have a question.
Hmm?
It says, so when I create a transaction, it says my transaction email address is, and it gives me a total brokerage email.
Mm-hmm.
Can I,
Sorry, you just broke up.
oh,
We
sorry.
lost
When I
Sorry, Michelle.
do my transaction, when I create a transaction, it shows the email as a total brokerage email.
Mm-hmm.
Can I
That's
make
an
that-
email. So you keep
What is
breaking up.
that?
So you say, can you make that?
Can you make that my regular email? Like, how to make that your regular email?
Okay, well, so that email address is just to send documents directly into the transaction.
Okay.
It
So-
should be.
So someone
Hang on,
can't.
let me pull one open. Yeah, that's just a transaction email address. That's just to go to just that transaction. So that's only, typically that's if you're sending yourself documents from an email, if you're forwarding in and such to the
Okay.
email address.
So a client
Yeah.
can't reply to that, and then I'll never see it.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works.
Okay. Thanks.
Anybody else?
All right, then I'm going to go ahead and stop the
That's cool.
recording, Keith, okay?
Awesome. Thanks, Diane.